What's going on, everybody? Eyecee here, and welcome to another NBA video. This one is for November 20th, 11 game slate. Before we get right into it, a quick recap into my night last night. Overall, a really good night. Hopefully, you guys tuned into the video and we're following the spreadsheet. A lot of the plays we talked about did spot on. Whiteside, of course, and Phoenix was bad, but all the 6 out of 8 teams were pretty spot on. Brandon Ingram was a top play. Alec Burks was fantastic. John Morant was good. Rashawn Holmes was sick. Dennis Schroeder was great. Anthony Davis was good. So a lot of these guys were good, and if you were in GPPs, you're probably really happy. My night in a whole, I cashed 100% in cash games. This was the lineup I ended up with, 298.25. Rodney Hood almost sunk me. I thought his ownership would be a lot higher, but it wasn't. Corey Joseph, I practice what I preach. I told you guys in yesterday's video, Corey Joseph is a really good player who just hadn't been playing anywhere near to his standard. He was also up against some of the toughest teams in the Lakers and Boston's, where he just didn't get a good chance to go off. Shot wasn't falling, so he was in an easier matchup here against the Suns, and he was in a perfect spot to go off. I had a lot of Corey Joseph yesterday. I knew his ownership would be non-existent, so I went with that. And then same in my single entry here, Corey Joseph again, Draymond, Alec Burks, LeBron, Ingram, Hayes, Whiteside, Kaminsky let me down, those two at the bottom. But decent showing. GPP, early main slate GPP, slight profit here, nothing too fancy, nothing too crazy. And then in my late night GPPs, I ended up losing $1 here. I had a lot of Rubio and Steven Adams, so that sucked. It wasn't great. But overall a really good night. Hopefully we can identify some more plays like that today, even though it is an 11 game slate. We have a lot to go through. But just before we get started, I want to thank everybody that's been supporting the channel, that's subscribed the last few days, that's been retweeting my stuff, commenting, messaging me, asking questions. I don't mind. I love answering questions. Thank you to all you guys that have been supporting the channel, supporting me, helping me grow. If you guys are new here and you haven't yet, and you like what's going on, hit that subscribe button. Help me grow. I'm trying to do this full time. The sooner I could do this full time, the sooner I can give you guys more content, better analysis, more analysis, live interactions, Q&A sessions, website, a live chatting place where we can just chat with each other, Slack, Discord, anything like that. I'm trying to do this full time, and if you guys like what's going on here, support, subscribe. If you guys want access to my spreadsheet, all I need is an email address. You can DM me at Eyecee DFS with the email address. I'll share the link with you. I just need an email address. Currently, we got about 30 people using the spreadsheet. It is fairly detailed. There's a lot of notes. I do this every single day. These are my own notes. I don't really listen to anything, or I watch games. I analyze basketball myself. I'm not a big name or a professional or anything like that, but it's a hobby of mine. It's what I do. And if you guys want access, I'm not going to be talking about every single player when I'm analyzing today. I'm only going to be talking about the guys I have colored. So if you guys want the full notes, it's free by all means. I just need an email address. I'll be happy to share it with you, and you can use it every single day. With all that said, let's get into today's slate. Sorry for the long-winded introduction. But today we got an 11 game slate, some really, really good games, starting with the San Antonio Spurs versus the Washington Wizards. Now, a lot of these Spurs players are going to be in a pace-up matchup, so that should bode well for them from a fantasy perspective. However, I'm not interested in a lot of these Spurs players. They haven't been playing all that well. They started off really great, but they've been in a downward spiral the last few games, not playing that well. They've been projected to finish as the worst team in the league, which I don't really agree with, in the West at least. I don't agree with that, but it is what it is. However, for the sake of this matchup, DeJounte Murray is the one guy that I'm really keen on considering from the Spurs side. He's had some really subpar games now. It's been about 5 games where he's been, mediocre to say the least. His minutes have been going down instead of going up, which doesn't really bode well for him. He did have foul trouble in 2 of those games, so that could explain some things. However, against Washington's pace-up matchup with no defense facing Murray, I really like his opportunity at a 5,200 price point range. He's flashed his upside all over the season so far. He has 40-plus point upside at 5,200 in this matchup. I don't think it's crazy to say that he could hit that in limited minutes. He has come back down to earth. DeMar DeRozan's taken more of a usage bump in the past few days. Same with Lamarcus Aldridge, but Gordimer is still more than capable of hitting value. Lamarcus Aldridge is a guy that I'm on the fence with here. We like targeting bigs against the Wizards. But at 7,700, I mean, it is a little bit confusing and concerning. At 6,300, we were all over Lamarcus Aldridge. I was. A lot of people were saying that he's no longer an elite player and blah, 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 blah. But, he's still the same guy. He's going to have more worse games than he has in the past. It's a natural thing with age, but, it's by no stretch of the imagination that he's a bad player now. He's still decent. He has the upside. He could go out there and get you 50 DraftKings points. But at this price, 7,700, it's more risky there's more of a risk than a reward, in my opinion. I didn't mind him at 63. I don't mind him at 7K, but 7,700 is getting up there, even if the matchup is great and fantastic. It's scary for me. It's risky, and that's why he's on the fence for me. He could definitely get it done, such as the matchup here against the Wizards, but the price point and 11-game slate, there's other guys I probably will end up getting to over him, which is why I'm on the fence with him. Again, these other guys I'm not going to be talking about. I have notes for them. I'm sorry you can't read them in the video, but if you want to read them, you can access the spreadsheet. It's free. Just send me an email. On the Wizards side, Thomas Bryant was someone I instantly just saw the price and just highlighted here. I love Thomas Bryant at this price point. The minutes on Thomas Bryant have been great. The problem with him the last few games is Isaiah Thomas has become part of the mixture here, and Isaiah Thomas has taken away from some of Bryant's usage. The matchup with Lamarcus Aldridge is also going to be tougher for Thomas Bryant, but Thomas Bryant has played against some of the toughest centers so far to start the season, and he's done relatively well. He's due for a big game, in my opinion, and this is a spot where he could easily hit his 40, 45 DraftKings point ceiling, which he's more than capable of doing. And at 6,200, it's a pretty safe bet in this matchup. The Spurs don't play as slow as they have in the past. They're mainly going to be focusing on getting the ball out of Bradley Beal and Isaiah Thomas's hands. That should bode well for Thomas Bryant and some of these wing guys here like Bertans or Wagner, depending on who gets to run here. But Thomas Bryant is someone I'm definitely looking at. And then Bradley Beal, 9,500. He has real 60, 70 DraftKings point upside. It's just a price on a 11-game slate, 9,500. The matchup is good too, but knowing Pop, he's going to really try and do something to get the ball out of Beal's hands or really force him to take shots that he shouldn't be. But his minutes are secured. His usage is among the highest in the league, but it is an 11-game slate. There's other guys that I wouldn't mind paying up to or paying down just a little bit that I feel have a little bit more upside and a safer floor. But Beal is still a really good play. I've been playing Beal the past 2 games a lot, and he's done really well for me. So I don't mind Beal all that much, but it is a little concerning based on the price and other guys on the board tonight. So Bradley Beal is not the guy I'm really too excited about, but he's definitely someone you can consider or should consider. Isaiah Thomas is the other guy I'm on the fence with here. Isaiah Thomas at 5,500, we do know his upside, but I'm pretty sure the Spurs are going to do what they can to slow him down and get him out of the equation. I have slight consideration for Isaiah Thomas, nothing crazy. His upside is great, but the floor is also kind of mediocre. So there is a risk. However, if you see, it's not that big of a risk, but at the same time, he's not going to win you anything if he doesn't exceed value. So on the fence with Isaiah Thomas. Next game we got here is New York versus Philadelphia. This is another game where I'm not really all that excited about. On the Knicks side, they're up against a tough matchup in the 76ers. Philly should just suffocate them defensively. The only issue is Philly hasn't been all that consistent offensively, and some of the games that they should have blown the opponent out, they've made into a competitive game for some reason. Knicks have also been surprising people at times because some of the games that they lost were very, very competitive. Even though they lost, they were in position to win those games, and that gets overlooked sometimes. They do have some veteran guys here, competitive-natured guys, fiery guys that play with the fire under their ass. That'll bring it to the 76ers. So, the 76ers are really going to be at alert here and have to be awake or they're going to have problems. With that said, the Knicks, Marcus Morris, he's someone that, I have a decent opinion of right now. If you asked me at the start of the season, I wouldn't be all that excited. But, I mean, now that we're 14 games in and he's been consistently doing this, I have no problem with Marcus Morris. Yeah, the matchup's going to be really tough, but they're going to need his tenacity. They're going to need his aggression, competitive spirit against the 76ers if they want to have a chance. Marcus Morris is one of the Coach Fishdale's more favorite players with his competitive nature. Coach Fisdale really likes guys that are competitive, go out there to play, to win, and then do what the coach wants them to do. So Marcus is doing that. Marcus has been getting minutes. His usage, everything is secured. I don't have a problem getting to Marcus. It's literally the matchup here against the 76ers, which is a very tough matchup in my opinion. At 6,200, yeah, he could get a 6x value for sure. He's been getting close to that almost every single game here. He's exceeded his value twice in the last 10 games. I smashed it, actually. So I don't mind. I really don't have an issue with that. It's just it's an 11-game slate. There's also a lot of other guys at this price point range that we can get to. So I might overlook him slightly, but he's in consideration. RJ Barrett, if he plays, I'm not really that interested. He could have a good game. But, I mean, the 76ers are a really tough matchup defensively. Josh Richardson should just be up in his face. Ben Simmons should make it tough. And then Harris, Horford, Embiid around the rim is like, good luck, man. Randall is the other guy I'm considering on the Knicks. I have a favorable opinion of Randall. I was spot on him the other day. 7K is a fantastic price. And, yeah, it's a very tough matchup. But Randall is the type of guy that doesn't shy away from these type of challenges. He's going to try and bring it. Embiid's just a very good defender, so Randall's chance of success is kind of low, but he's still more than capable of doing what he does best and going out there and competing and putting up stats on the board. I don't mind getting to Randall at 7K. It's a risk, but the reward's huge. My ownership might be slightly elevated due to his last performance, but I think people are going to see the matchup with Philadelphia, the price, and some other people at this position, and his ownership goes a little lower. I could be wrong on this. I'm not sure about the ownership part of it, but I am sure about Randall going out there and competing tonight and being in a good position to get us value. On the 76ers, and honestly, I never liked Philadelphia 76ers when they're at full strength. Going back to last year, even though they weren't this talented starting five last year, they still had a decent starting five last year, and I didn't like doing it then. I don't like doing it now. With that said, there's definitely some good value here because some of these prices are just too damn good. I'm going to start with Tobias Harris at 6,200. Aside from the one time when I vouched for Tobias Harris in regards to his consistency, he let me down. So I'm scared to say it again, but I mean, Tobias Harris has been one of the most consistent performers on the 76ers team. He's put in some good performance after performance, and that was the one day where I vouched for him against the Cavaliers, and he put up the ultimate stinker. So, he's been good the previous games and the games after that, so I don't mind getting Tobias Harris here at 6,200. Against the Knicks, it should be a very it shouldn't be as tough of a matchup, but at this price point, it's very tough to overlook Tobias Harris, who could easily have another consistent performance like he has been all season long. He averages 36.4 DraftKings points on the season. That's almost 6x value, and granted, some guys are missing. It doesn't really seem to affect Tobias, who's rebounding and assisting at a decent rate. The other guy I'll talk about is Al Horford. Al Horford at $6,100, $100 cheaper than Tobias Harris. Is a little bit riskier production-wise than Tobias Harris, who's more of a scorer. Al Horford's more of a defender, but he also has similar upside. He fills up the stat sheet, goes out there, minutes are good, usage are good. Also gets rebounds and assists, so I don't mind Horford either. And then Embiid, Simmons, both of these guys, of course, they're in consideration, but how much, it depends on some of the other value that opens up on the night. If some injury news changes stuff. As it stands, Embiid, I wouldn't mind getting to. We know Embiid is the one guy on the 76ers that's always in consideration because of his monster upside. But even then, at full strength against New York, I don't think we'll need a monster Embiid. This game could be over before it starts if the 76ers actually, come out to compete and don't just play lethargically like they have been the last few games. Next game we got here is Orlando versus Toronto, probably the lowest scoring game of the night. This is a rematch from round one of last year's playoff with a 5-game series. Orlando won the first game. The Raptors won the next 4 straight, a gentleman's sweep. With that said, I'm not excited about anybody on the Magic. I'm just gonna be quite honest with you guys. Only if Jonathan Isaac plays. I really like Jonathan Isaac. Vucevic is in slight consideration for me because he's with Nikolai Vucevic. But 4 and 5 games last year against the Raptors, Nikolai Vucevic had one good game. The Raptors essentially shut him out, shut him down. Of course, Ibaka's not there. Gasol's not in his top form right now, so Vucevic should have an easier time going up against the Raptors, but the Raptors are really well coached. They're going to do whatever they can to get the ball out of this guy's hands. They're not going to let Vucevic beat them. They know that's the magic star. That's the guy that's going to get it done for them on most nights. So they're going to force the other guys, the inconsistent mans, to get it done for them, and they'll take that gamble. So Vucevic I'm on the fence with, knowing that he's going up against the Raptors, but the only positive I have is Ibaka's not there, Kawhi is gone, and Gasol hasn't been up to his regular standard, so that could make it easier for Vucevic, but it's tough. The price is up too on Vuce. He's been usually around $7,900, so it's a $1,200 price jump in a slower matchup here. Raptors play fast. Orlando plays slow, but both of these teams play good defense, and the Raptors change it up to their opposition. And I'm pretty sure they're gonna use some schemes here to shut down Vuce. Aaron Gordon, I'm just going to talk about quickly. I have a favorable opinion on him. I didn't highlight him or anything because he's flaky and he's prone to have some really bad games. I only really like Aaron Gordon if Isaac's going to be out because I feel like the usage bump is too good to pass off at the price. And Aaron Gordon did have some decent games against the Raptors in the playoffs last year, so he's the only reason I'm looking at. That's the only reason why I'm looking at him. On the Raptors side, I'm on the fence with Fred VanVleet. VanVleet didn't have a single good game. Like he had a single good game against the Magic in 5 tries last year. He was only playing 28 minutes with Lowry and all those guys, so he wasn't getting the same amount of shot volume that he's going to be getting here. But he just wasn't playing well. Granted, he did have some family problems at home. His wife was pregnant due any time now, so I'm sure that was affecting his mentality and ability to perform on a consistent basis, especially in the playoffs. But after that Magic series, man, this guy really came onto his own. Actually, sorry, after the 76ers series, because he was pretty bad against the 76ers as well. But after the birth of his kid, he just went up. And honestly, right now, he's playing playoff minutes. He's on the fence, but I feel like as the day goes on, he's going to win me over more and more. And in fact, he's already won me over, so I'm just going to put him in the light green. 7,400 for VanVleet with the amount of usage and minutes he's seeing, and up against an Orlando Magic team who's not all that great. They're a good defensive team. They play at a slow pace, but it's the Raptors. They're smart. They pass the ball well. They help each other, so he should be good. But the Raptor that I really like is Pascal Siakam at 8,800. I don't mind going to Pascal Siakam. He had game after game against the Magic. He was playing really well. He should be in a good bounce back spot here after having some subpar performances the last few days. This is more or less what you're going to get out of Siakam. He's still young, man. He's a young kid. He's 25 years old. He's only been playing basketball for X amount of years, not as much as some of these other guys. And now he's going to be seeing a lot more double team, double coverages. They're basically going to do to him what they did to Kawhi. So that's scary. They are a good defensive team. They're more than capable of, getting the ball out of his hands. But he's not someone that wants the ball in his hands. He's someone that mainly just ISOs and gets to the basket and scores. So, it's kind of tough to double team those type. It's a little bit easier at times too, but it's also tough because if other guys are doing most of the work and all of a sudden this guy gets the ball with 6-7 seconds left on the clock, all of a sudden someone else is going to be abandoned, and that's going to allow Siakam to get an easy assist. As you can see, Siakam has a decent assist rate on this team too. So with Larry out of the picture, he's also kind of ball handling at times. So I could go either way here on the fence, but with the amount of minutes he's playing, definitely someone I'm going to be considering for sure. And then OG and Norman Powell, both these guys are in consideration. Their price is the main reason why I'm not overly excited about them, but both of these guys should be seeing a good amount of minutes, good amount of run. Essentially, Siakam should be playing in the Kawhi role, and OG should be playing in the Siakam role from last season. OG is more than capable of producing. He's been playing really, really well to start the year. He was on pace to have a career game the other day before he got that eye poke again. So he's had some 40 DraftKings point games already this season, and he was on trajectory to have another one against Charlotte. Yeah, Orlando's a tougher team, slower pace matchup here, so the opportunity might not all be there like the past few games. However, it's OG. He's gonna have a lot of minutes. He's one of the more trusted guys on this team. Starter, minutes are secured, and then Marc Gasol started to have a renaissance in the last game, so I'll just mention him real quick. He started doing a little bit better the last game. And that could be a good sign. However, against this Orlando team, I'm not that excited. And then Norman Powell, his price is the only reason why I'm not going crazy. If this is a close game, the minutes should be great for Powell. Otherwise, if he's going to be playing reduced minutes, which is another risk, because he does come off the bench, then if he's going to be playing reduced minutes, then I'm not all that excited. I mean, he's starting right now, but even when he starts, he plays like a couple of minutes and he's benched fairly quickly. So he's not playing playoff minutes right now. He's still playing his regular minutes, and that's because he has an injury history. So I guess they don't want to risk it. But that's pretty much it for the Raptors. I guess keep an eye on the news for Ibaka. If he plays, that would be good, but he'd probably be on a minutes limit because he hasn't played in quite a while, so I wouldn't be that interested in him. But him playing would definitely affect like Boucher, Ronnie Hollis-Jefferson. Yeah, I guess that's it. And Gasol, I guess. Next game, Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Miami Heat. Another game I'm not all that excited about here, and I think we got to speed up the pace here because we're kind of slow. So, not really excited about anybody on the Cleveland Cavaliers side. If Love and Nance are out, then Zizic is someone I'll be looking at, and McKinney is another guy I'll be looking at, and Kevin Porter again at 4,400. I wouldn't mind, but as it stands, I'm not really interested in the Cleveland Cavaliers. Kevin Love, if he plays, could have a decent game against the Heat, but Heat are one of the toughest defensive teams, and I just don't like Kevin Love, man. His price is good now, 7,400. I mean, I don't mind Kevin Love at that price, but he was at like 9K or some shit the other day, and like I'm not playing Kevin Love at 9K knowing who he is. Like, no, you guys can read the note. That's who Kevin Love is. So I'm not interested in Kevin Love at 9K. But 7,400 with no Tristan Thompson and maybe no Larry Nance, I don't mind. I could get there. But aside from that, no one I'm really excited about. Alfonso McKinney maybe at 3,800. Good minutes out of him. And this guy has a lot to prove. So I like that. On the Miami Heat, Bam Adebayo, Big Bam. He's been the most consistent Heat player, I would say. He's been playing really, really well. He's not only center eligible, which kind of sucked. He was great when he was both power forward center eligible. But even as a center, the price has gone up. There's some other center players that I don't mind at the price range. Like, I would play Gobert, Capella, Jokic over Bam. But Bam is also someone in a matchup here with no Tristan Thompson and perhaps no Kevin Love that he could also go out there and exceed. He's been playing really, really well. It's just some of these other guys have way more upside. I don't expect these type of games on a consistent basis, and both of these games were against crappy teams. Again, he's going up against Cleveland again, so he does have that upside, which is why he's in play for me. And then Jimmy Butler, 7,700, the leader of this team, Jimmy Buckets. 7,700 is a fantastic price for him. He could definitely go out there and get you 50 DraftKings points. The problem with him is that sometimes he goes out there and gets you 30. And that's the problem. Is the inconsistency with Butler, and it's no fault of his own. That's just how fantasy works. It doesn't make him a bad player or anything. It's just how fantasy works. It's just a couple of extra peripheral stats really make a big difference, specifically when he's assisting at this rate. That's what we're looking for. If he's going to be assisting at that rate, then he can smash value, smash his price. But if he is not, then he's going to be really shooting dependent. And I don't know how much of Butler shooting dependent I want. So he's still in play, 7,700. He's an elite guard, elite player in the league. He's a leader of this team amongst the highest usage. Definitely someone that could go out there and get it done, especially against the shitty Cavaliers. The guards here, Nunn, Hero, Dragic, I have detailed notes about them. Nunn would be my guy, but Dragic is safer. Nunn has a higher ceiling. Dragic has a safer floor. And Tyler Hero is the guy in the middle who I'm expecting to go off. So that's that. On to the next. Charlotte versus Brooklyn. Honestly, I like PJ Washington on the Charlotte side. I feel like a lot of people are going to overlook him. He had a really bad game the other night. He basically fouled out of the game in 17 minutes against the Raptors. They played him off the court. They had their way with him. But against the Brooklyn Nets, we like to target bigs, right? So this guy should be in a prime bounce back spot. His price is really good. He's been getting 5.5x value at this price all season long. The matchup against the Nets is a very, very good matchup in my opinion, and it's hard for me to overlook that. He's one of my favorite Hornet players, and honestly, he's one of my more favorite mid-low value plays on the night. I don't mind getting the PJ Washington whatsoever. He's been decent all season long. This is a great spot for him, so I like him. His ownership should be low too. That's another reason. So Between Devontae Graham and Terry Rozier, I like both of these guys, but personally, I'm going with Scary Terry. I like his price just a little bit more. I like the fact that his ownership's going to be lower too, and he has the same upside as Devontae Graham. Yeah, Devontae Graham has a higher assist rate and all that, but Terry Rozier has a higher scoring rate, I would say. So, to each their own. I personally like Terry Rozier at 6K in this matchup. I feel like he should be more than capable of going off and exceeding value today against these Nets. Kyrie's gonna be out, Dinwiddie's gonna be in, so that's that. And then all these other guys here, all these small forward, shooting guard, mans here, all these Dwayne Bacon's, Bridges, Batum, Monk, Williams, all these guys, I'm not interested. They're still trying to figure out their rotation. They have too much talent on this team. The minutes are up and down on any given night. It's hard to predict, and I don't really want to spend that time doing that. So until we get some more assured lineups going forward, I'm not really interested in these guys. They could definitely get it done. They could definitely exceed value, smash their price, blah, blah, blah. But it's tough. It's scary for me to get to, and definitely not excited about playing these guys or telling people to play these guys. They have their pros and cons, but they're not for me. I'm not excited about these guys whatsoever. Okay, on the Brooklyn Nets team, honestly, Taurean Prince, his price didn't go up. His price didn't go up because he didn't do well. But he's more than capable of doing well, especially with Kyrie out. His usage and volume should be great. His shot wasn't falling the last game. He just had a bad game against Indiana. It was a blowout as well, so he played less minutes. He should be playing closer to 30 minutes. He's been averaging 29.7 minutes on the season. And this is a decent matchup. I don't expect him to get blown out in the first, 10 minutes of the game. So I expect these guys to go out there and compete and have a good bounce back. Great game, great spot for Taurean Prince, in my opinion. 5K. He has huge upside. The usage and minutes bump is also very fantastic. Joe Harris is the other guy I'm looking at. He's 4,900. I'd rather play Joe Harris than Dinwiddie. I know that sounds crazy, but I'd rather just play Joe Harris than Dinwiddie at a $2,300 price difference. Yeah, I'd rather just play Joe Harris than Dinwiddie, hoping that Joe Harris decides to take some shots today. Dinwiddie, I mean, it was great the other day. It was 6K. It was just too damn cheap against Indiana. And it's still a little too damn cheap against Charlotte. But, I mean, Charlotte still tries to play some defense. Rozier and Graham, they're going to try and play defense. They're not good at it, but they're going to try. They're going to try slowing down Dinwiddie. And Dinwiddie was really efficient. He took 21 shots. I mean, he still takes 18 shots from here and there with Kyrie there. So that wasn't all that surprising. But his production definitely went up. But again, he does have foul trouble history. He's at risk of getting fouls. And the way Devontae Graham and Rozier play, they could definitely get him into foul. 7,200 is a little too steep for me, even though the matchup is fantastic. So I'm on the fence. I could definitely play Dinwiddie, but I mean, I would just rather play Joe Harris, who should be seeing good amount of 35 minutes. You know, he has upside as well. The floor is pretty low, but I mean, I don't mind 25 to 30 DraftKings points from Joe Harris with the upside of 40. You know, I don't mind that versus something similar to Dinwiddie at a $2,300 price increase. You know, I'm not tell me if I'm crazy here, but it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't. I'd rather just play Prince or Harris than Dinwiddie at this price. I don't know. I could be crazy. That's why I'm on the fence. It's really tough for me to figure this one out. I don't like the price. I like the player. I like the usage, the minutes opportunity. I like the matchup, but the foul trouble combined with his ownership projection, he's probably going to be very highly owned. So I'm really on the fence. He's probably the most I'm super on the fence with Dinwiddie. Okay, super on the fence. Next game we got Milwaukee versus Atlanta. This should be a good game, fantasy wise. Could get out of hand really quickly if the Hawks don't make their shots. But let's start with the Bucks. Giannis 100%. Giannis 100% Kumpo in play. He's one of the best pay-up options on the slate today. Great matchup. Can absolutely smash his value at this price. No Middleton again. Hawks suck defensively. So I mean, who's really gonna stop Giannis? They don't have the skill to double, triple team him. So it's not gonna happen. So he's a good play. And then between Eric Bledsoe and Brook Lopez, I'm on the fence with both of these guys. Eric Bledsoe is a head scratcher for me. The guy, I never really get this guy right. If I'm being honest with you guys, he's someone I've just never really trusted. But it's point guards against the Hawks. That's what we say all the time, guards against Hawks. And at a 7,100 price with no Middleton, I can definitely see myself playing Bledsoe, but I wouldn't be confident or comfortable just knowing the type of guy he is and how things have turned out in the past. So that's that. And then Brook Lopez, he had a monster game we're all looking for. The price is still reasonable. He can get 36, 40 DraftKings points against for sure. But the last 2 games, he got 5 blocks. And those 5 blocks, I don't really think are sustainable long term. Yeah, he might be able to go and do that again today against the Hawks, a young team, He could, but it's a little bit more risky at this price point. And then Sterling Brown's the only other guy on the Bucks that I have a favorable opinion of. His minutes are going up, and that's what we expected with Middleton out. He played a key role for the Bucks last year. He did have that injury, and he's been coming back from it, so slowly he's been incorporated into the offense. He's missed 4 games at the start of the year, and now his minutes are going up, and he should be the main guy filling in for Middleton. He has decent usage, decent upside. The price is reasonable. The matchup is great, so I don't mind Sterling Brown. On the Atlanta Hawks side, this is a really tough match up for the Hawks, in my opinion. The Bucks are one of the best defensive teams in the league, but Middleton not being there really helps Trae Young particularly. Trae Young at 9,400, he's one of the more expensive guard plays on the night, but he's one of the guards that I don't mind really getting to. It's between him and Beal for me, and I'd honestly be torn between the two. Both of their matchups, I mean, Beal has a better matchup in my opinion, but Young going up against a Middleton-less Bucks team should also be a pretty enticing matchup here. Young doesn't really get most of his points by driving to the basket. He settles for long-range sniper shots, and Bucks perimeter defense really gonna have to step their game up here. They do have decent defenders here, but nothing too special. So Trae Young could definitely go out there and smash at this price. I don't mind him whatsoever. Damian Jones, I'm not really sure on this guy. All I know is that they're going to need his size and strength. He's been a decent fantasy performer at 3,800. He's a good priced play here, in my opinion. He's going to be slightly under-owned, and they're going to need his size. It's between him, Len, and Fernando. These guys are going to have to be on the court to match the Bucks size, and Damian Jones has been playing well, getting decent minutes. He does have some foul trouble, history problem, as you can see in the past 2 games. But even with the foul trouble, he still managed to hit those values. So I don't mind him whatsoever. He did also have some tougher games against some of the tougher oppositions in the league. Lakers, Clippers, Phoenix, Denver, Portland with Whiteside. And he's been doing well. So against Giannis, Brook Lopez, Rolo, similar type of matchup. I don't mind getting to him whatsoever. He should be able to do well, even though Bucks are a tough matchup. And then between these guys here, I mean, Jabari Parker, Vince Carter, Evan Turner are questionable. If Jabari Parker misses, that should be a significant boost to like DeAndre Hunter, Bemery, and then even Damian Jones, Fernando, all these guys basically throughout the board, they'd get a big jump because there's no clear-cut second option here. I guess if Jabari Parker's gone, it would fall to DeAndre, Bemery, or Hunter, right? Reddish. I would say Bemery would take more of the offensive load there because he does have that upside. But his main talent is playmaking, but he doesn't really handle the ball as much with Trae Young on the court. Plus, Trae Young and Bemery don't really spend that much time on the court either. So, I don't know. If Jabari Parker ends up missing, it'd be on the fence. Alan Crabb could have a good game if Jabari Parker misses. So, really keep an eye on the news here. It's pretty important who's starting for Jabari Parker. He has a right shoulder problem as it stands. I don't know if they put a designation on him. He's expected to play. So, like, scratch everything I said. If he's expected to play at 6,900, he should be a decent play. I don't mind him at this price point for sure. His usage and minutes have been fantastic the last few games. And, again, the Bucks are going to have to really step up the game here. Their defense has been lacking at times so far this year. It hasn't been as compact as it was in the past, but of course without Middleton, what do you expect? Middleton is their best defender, so it should be a little bit easier for some of these Hawks guys, but by no means easy. So yeah, those are the guys I like on the Hawks. Next game, Golden State versus Dallas. Golden State versus Dallas again. Draymond Green, I'm just gonna talk about right off the bat. I'm on the fence with him. Again, I already mentioned on my winnings, I didn't expect Draymond to get that many assists. Everybody was basically making his shots. However, what I do expect from Draymond is for him to make more shots. So if he makes more shots, then he can make up for those assists that he's probably not going to be getting consistently. I'm on the fence here. This is a little bit of a tougher matchup for the Warriors. The Warriors are trash. They're not that good, but they did manage to win yesterday. They had a competitive game against Boston in which they were leading, so those are good signs. Of course, they're still missing a lot of guys, but that just means more opportunities for some of these other guys. Some of these other guys' prices are now going up slowly but surely, but still, they're not as high as they should be. And Alec Burks, 5,200. I love Burks again in this matchup. I will be going to him right off the bat. Just like we said yesterday, he was someone that was going to have a great chance to have an uptick in usage and everything because D'Lo was out, and he was someone that they mainly signed as a backup guard. But Steph and D'Lo out, he'd be the primary guard, no? And a better option than Kai Bowman, a better option than Draymond Green. The only problem with Alec Burks is his assist rate is not that good. He's not that good of a playmaker. He's more of a scorer, and he was mainly Klay Thompson's backup. But regardless of all of that, Alec Burks is a great player here at 5,200 against this Dallas Mavericks team. They have a decent defense against the position, but by no means have they been locked down or anything like that. Alex Burks could definitely go out there and get his. They're going to need Alex Burks for shooting. But then Glenn Robinson, Eric Pascal, both these guys are also guys that could be in play today. Decently priced here. Usages are good, so I don't mind these guys at all either. Of course, in limited minutes, Eric Pascal did that. So if he got his regular 30, 32 minutes, he would have been just fine yesterday, so I don't mind him. And Glenn Robinson, he's more of the risky guy out of the guys I mentioned. But he also has upside. He's the de facto starter on this team. He was supposed to be a starter when the season started, and he's still a starter. He's someone who should be seeing a decent amount of minutes every single night. The minutes are secured. It's just his usage on the court is not that great, nothing exciting. However, he does have upside, and he's flashy from time to time. So those are the four guys I'm really just looking at on the Warriors. Of course, Willie Cauley-Stein consideration, Chris in consideration. Jordan Poole, one of these days, he's going to make some shots, and he'll be in consideration. That's cool. On the Dallas Mavericks side, Luka Doncic, he's my top play on the slate. Basically, the only risk I have here is the game doesn't stay close, which I hate predicting. But Luka's been playing out of his mind. One of the highest usage rates in the league. There's nothing bad to say about Luka. He's like my top play. Dallas on the other guy on Dallas, Porzingis. He's been quietly having a decent season, but he's been quiet. He hasn't been super crazy here. He has tremendous upside, 45, 50 DraftKings points upside. This is a fantastic matchup for him. I don't really know who stops Porzingis on the Warriors. This is a good spot for him to come out and flourish. He hasn't really done that the past few games. Had some really quiet games, especially against the Knicks. That was kind of really quiet, but they've been quiet, good games. Don't get me wrong. He hasn't been playing bad. They've just been quiet. Like, if you weren't paying attention, you'd be like, what? He got 45? Like, really? Like, you thought he played a lot worse than he did, but he's been quietly having good performances. But, any one of these days now, I could expect a 60 DraftKings point game for Porzingis. I wouldn't be surprised. It could be today. So, I like Porzingis. And then Dorian Finney-Smith, DFS, I'm on the fence. I said it last video. His minutes are really, really good, but he's just not that type of performer, producer. And I don't really think that's going to happen again here today. He performed way above average. A lot of people are going to chase him. The price is up, and I'd rather just fade him and go elsewhere and hope he flops. So, that's where I stand. That could be not a good place to stand, but DFS Dorian Finney-Smith. Yeah, he has DFS initials, but he's not DFS friendly. He has really flaky performances at times, even though he gets minutes, and I'm not gonna be chasing that. Seth Curry's questionable. Him being out opens up some more usage for some of these other guys, but just like the team above here, the Charlotte Hornets, the Dallas Mavericks don't really have a defined rotation. On any given night, some of these guys could be seeing more run than the other guys. So I don't really like figuring that stuff out and wasting my time on that because it's uncertain. The coach makes the call, and we can only project it. And even then, the guy could start and not play the most minutes. So it's tough for me to predict, and I'm not excited about it. The next game we have here is a rematch from the other night. the Utah Jazz versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. And honestly, right off the bat, Rudy Gobert is the guy I'm looking at. Ever since he whined about not getting enough shots, he's been getting shots, so that's a good sign for Rudy. But again, Rudy's pretty much my favorite play on the Jazz. Donovan Mitchell, I would also consider here. Royce O'Neal, I'll give a favorable opinion to, but nothing too excited about him. He's a low option guy here, somewhat of a safe but still risky value play. The minutes are good. The production at times has not been that great. But he has the ability to exceed value, if not smash it, at 3,900 in this matchup against the Timberwolves, who play at one of the fastest pace in the league. But it is risky, so I'll put him on the fence. And then Boyan and Mike Conley. I have notes here. You guys can go through that. We gotta make it faster. We're at like the 40-minute mark. People are gonna kill me. Minnesota side, Karl Anthony Towns, T. Covington. All three of these guys are in play, especially if Andrew Wiggins remains out. Of course, that's not the most important news going on here. If these other guys are out too, that should also give these guys a significant usage bump, and they'd be more of a play for me than they already are. But as it stands, Karl Anthony Towns and Jeff Teague are the two guys I really, really like. I don't care if Wiggins plays or doesn't play. I still like these two guys. And then with Wiggins playing, I really don't like Covington all that much. His usage should go down. His price is a little elevated for less usage and minutes. And then I probably prefer Wiggins if he plays. Should be a good matchup, good spot for him. But as it stands, Karl Anthony Towns, Jeff Teague, Covington's are the guy I like. Jake Layman is doubtful, so I doubt he plays. Napier is doubtful, so I doubt he plays. And Okogie is questionable. I'm pretty sure he plays. I like Okogie more than I like Culver or Graham, but I'd rank them Okogie, Culver, and then Graham. Graham just had the worst night of his life. 24 minutes, 3.25 DraftKings points, fouled out, horrible. But Okogie, Culver are the two guys I'd probably be punting here as value plays with upside. But that's about it. Keep an eye on the news. A lot can change for the Minnesota Timberwolves really, really quickly. On the Detroit side, Drummond is someone I'm looking at. Blake Griffin is someone I'm looking at. Those are the two guys I'm looking at. Andre Drummond, man, he's been shaping out to be a solid play of the night for me at 8,700. I don't mind getting to Andre Drummond. Wendell's going to try his best to stop him, and Wendell's been getting into foul troubles, and Wendell has his own troubles. So even if Wendell stays on the court, it's going to be hard for Wendell to stop Drummond. Drummond's just an elite center. Tough matchup. He's been form right now. He's in really good shape. Elite rebounder. With Blake back, he doesn't get that much attention now too, so he's a little bit more free. And with Blake back, his usage is relatively unaffected. At this price, he's been getting 6x value, so I'm definitely playing Drummond. Blake Griffin does not affect Drummond all that much. And likewise, Blake Griffin is the guy I'm going to as well, 7,100. I don't mind him. He played 30 minutes last game, and he's going to have some monster games this season. This is a perfect matchup for Blake Griffin, in my opinion, against the Bulls. Definitely a spot where he can use to, ping pong himself back into people's minds. He's been in like the realm of obscurity for a couple of weeks now, and now that he has his chance against a decent opponent in the Bulls, he can go off and show the world that he still exists. So I like Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond. Luke Kennard's too overpriced. Derrick Rose, I don't really think Derrick Rose is going to get the same amount of run and usage with some of these guys coming back. Langston Galloway could be a play with Tony Snell out, but 4,900 price point. I'd rather play some other guys on this side. I'd rather just play Markieff Morris than Langston Galloway, to be quite honest with you. But I don't like none of these guys. Like, their prices are a little too high for me. They're priced like Blake's out and stuff, so that's not the case. On the Bulls side, I'm just going to put Satoransky here because I expect Satoransky to go out there and take some shots. But the coach said he wanted Satoransky to be more aggressive and take more shots. And Satoransky was taking like 8 shots per game. After the coach said that, Satoransky came out on the court and he took a solid 6 shots. 2 shots less than his average. So I'm expecting the coach to really grill him on that and really get him to start taking more shots because he's been efficient. His matchups have been tough, so that's something you got to take into consideration. Satoransky was in tougher matchups here where, he doesn't really have that much time to, take those bad shots. And he's not a bad shot taker. He's a pass-first type of guy. So he was passing the ball up to his teammates like a good teammate. But now his coaches are complaining that they want him to take more shots. So this guy should go out there and take more shots, in my opinion. He's a good shooter. He gets the other peripheral, so 4,500 he could definitely smash. We've seen it time and time again for the Washington Wizards last year when he was filling in for John Wall. He could definitely go out and do that. He's great upside. He's a dual position player, someone that's trusted. Minutes are secured, but the usage is kind of low. But I don't mind him today. I'll have him in consideration. Zach LaVine, 6,800. Of course, he has to be in play. He has to be in consideration. But Zach LaVine, inconsistency has defined his Zach LaVine's career. This is a decent matchup, but it's always scary going with Zach LaVine. He has tremendous upside, but he tends to put up stinkers from time to time. So I'm not all that excited about playing with Zach LaVine, but I do know he has the upside. But this is an 11-game slate. There's a lot of guys that we can pick other than Zach LaVine who are a little bit safer with more upside. So I'm probably going to go that route. So as it stands, I'm not really that excited about many of the Bulls guys here. Maybe Lauri Markkanen, who's due for a bounce-back game. He's been having mediocre performance after mediocre performance. The slump is in full effect here. And he's had some tough matchups which haven't helped his cause either. So now that's a little bit of an easier matchup. Not all that easy. Blake and Drummond are not that easy. But he should still see a little bit of a better chance to produce at a lower price point here. He's been around 7K. So at 5,400, I don't mind Lauri Markkanen. He's pretty priced down now. So I can see myself getting to him a little bit more. Wendell Carter has foul trouble. So he doesn't really excite me. Second last game, Houston versus Denver. This should be a really fun one to watch. On the Houston side, I like the Rockets, James Harden, and Westbrook, both of them. I feel like Harden is not one of the best studs of the night. There's other studs I wouldn't get to. There's other studs I would get to. But Harden is unstoppable, man. You can't really stop this guy. He's going to get the opposition into foul trouble if you try too hard. So he's going to go out there and get his. And the only way that he's really stopped is if he stops himself by not making shots. I don't really think they could do anything to really get Harden out of the groove or whatever. It's just him missing shots. That's it. Or the referee's not calling fouls. That's the other one. But I don't think that. I think Harden can have a good game easily. I think Russell Westbrook could go out there and have a good game easily. It's not going to be easy for the Nuggets to defend Harden and Westbrook together. They are a good defensive team, but these guys can cause trouble. They're both elite passers. They have decent shooters surrounding them, so they could cause trouble for this Denver Nuggets team. And then Capella has been playing out of his mind, but 7,900 is a little steep. Daniel House, a decent play at 4,800 with the amount of usage. The usage is not that good on this team, but his importance on this team is they're not going to be winning game without Daniel House Jr. And Daniel House Jr. is on the court even in blowout situations, so that also works well for Daniel House. So he's a decent play at 4,800. He has upside, but again, it is limited upside. It's a little bit risky. So how much Daniel House I get to? Probably not a lot at this price point. And then PJ Tucker, he's cheaper than Daniel House. A little bit more shooting dependent for sure. But TJ also goes out there and puts up stats, puts up numbers. So 4,600 is a decent price for him. He's going to be seeing a good amount of minutes as well. But man, I'm not all excited about PJ or Daniel House today against Denver. Denver's a tough defensive team, and they're going to try and make Westbrook and Harden beat them, not these other guys. So because they know they're inconsistent shooters. So that's that. On the Denver side, Nikola Jokic is pretty much the only guy I really like. I'm considering Gary Harris because of his cheap price point, and I'm considering Will Barton because of his reduced price point, but that's about it. Oh, and Monte Morris, who's been getting the backup guard minutes over Beasley and Craig now. Well, let's start with Jokic. Jokic's price is still too cheap, in my opinion. He's been taking double-digit shot attempts. It's a great matchup against the Rockets, but Capella is one of the faster centers in the league, and Jokic is one of the slower ones, so that could cause some issues there. That could mean Jeremy Grant could be needed more to match with Capella because Millsap's also slow. So Jeremy Grant could see extended run to match with Capella. But that is, it's a little bit of a risk. But Jokic, nonetheless, should be in a good spot here. He's had some good game against the Rockets in the past, and I don't see why he can't do that. 8,400 is a good price for someone getting as much usage in minutes as he is. He's an elite player, MVP candidate last year, and he's been taking double-digit shots. I expect him to bounce back. He's not going to be playing like this the whole year, so he's way better than he's showing right now. So definitely someone I'm going to. Gary Harris, 4,500. Hasn't really shown much, but the price is cheap, and I know he has upside. It's rare that he gets those upside, but 30, 35 DraftKings points is not outside the realm of possibility for Gary Harris. And then Will Barton, his price is down and it's more reasonable. The pace-up matchup really makes me like Will Barton here. He's going to have more opportunity with the ball in his hand. However, he's still a little bit priced high on an 11-game slate. There's other guys I wouldn't mind getting to. Jamal Murray, he could go out there and have a fantastic game, but I'm not chasing him at 7,500. Paul Millsap and Grant, I have my notes here. You guys can go through those. On the last game, Celtics versus the Clippers, and of course, we have major news here with Kawhi Leonard being questionable. If he plays, that changes everything. If he doesn't play, then it'll stay like this. So Boston side, the top three dogs, the trio, Tatum, Walker, Brown. I like all three of them. I just don't have a really super favorable opinion of them, which is why they're light green. I like them, but I'm not excited at the same time. I would say Tatum, I said last game Tatum was due for a really good game, and he had that really good game. Now I'm going to go out on a whim and say I think Jaylen Brown finally has his good game here against the Clippers, but that would only depend on if Kawhi does not play. If Kawhi plays, that really severely hinders the ability of Jaylen Brown here to go out and have a good game. But let's just stop for a second and just take in what Boston has been doing recently. Boston hasn't been playing all that well recently. The scores have been relatively low. They played against some pretty bad teams. Phoenix is good. They lost to the Kings. They almost lost to the Warriors, so that wasn't good. So I'm expecting a good game offensively from the Celtics side. I don't care if it's the Clippers and they're supposed to be a good defensive team. The news flash is right now, guys, the Clippers are not one of the best defensive teams in the league. They're actually one of the worst. They have a lot of good defenders. They're not playing properly. You can check the stats. They're not one of the best defensive teams right now. They're in the middle. Of course, that has a lot to do with Kawhi not playing every single game and Beverly missing and Paul George in and out. Or Paul George is in now, but he wasn't there before. So that has a lot to do with it. But there's some guys here that have been very inconsistent, and guys have had good matches against the Clippers. So, I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibility that Boston can too. Boston is one of the most efficient offensive teams in the league and one of the most efficient defensive teams, which is why these scores have been relatively close, so they can definitely go out there and give the Clippers a run with or without Kawhi. It doesn't matter, but without Kawhi, it'd be a little bit easier for them. Still tough, but a little bit easier for them, so I could expect the Celtics to have a good offensive night here. With that said, Brown, Wacom, Tatum, those are the orders. I'll put these guys in for now. That's what I like. Of course, Marcus Smart's out, so that gives a direct boost to the trio here. Ojulele might see a little bit more minutes. Javonte Green might see a little bit more minutes. Brad Wanamaker maybe. But that's about it from the Celtics side. I'm not really interested in any of the guys below Hayward here. They're all flaky in their own rights. The minutes aren't consistent. Cantor played 4 minutes the other day. Like, what the hell? So I'm just not interested here. Sure, someone could go off, but not for me. On the Clippers side, we got Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, and Paul George, the three guys I'm looking at if Kawhi stays out, if Shamet stays out. I like these three guys. I have a favorable opinion of them. Lou Williams at this 6,500 price point should be able to smash. Yeah, the matchup is tough against the Celtics, but hey, it's Lou Williams, 6,500, that much minutes and usage without Kawhi. There's not much to think about. Montrezl Harrell, on the other hand, is 7K. There is a little bit to think about, but this guy also has tremendous upside. With Kawhi out of the picture, they're going to need his rebounding ability against the Celtics, who are pretty bad at rebounding. So they're going to need Montrezl Harrell for sure, so I don't mind Montrezl Harrell. 7K. He's going to be getting a lot of minutes and usage. And then Paul George is 7,800. He had a stinker after 2 really good performances in limited minutes. The minutes were up on Paul George, I believe, which is a good sign. He played around 29 minutes, almost 30. So I could see him playing again another 30 minutes against the Celtics, if not a little bit more, maybe 32. But 7,800 is a great price for Paul George, who was an MVP candidate last year. He was in the top 3 for a good while up until he got injured. So Paul George, definitely 7,800. I don't mind him. And then these other guys, they're all up for grabs here. The minutes and everything is insecure. Zubac's the one guy I'll talk about because he's basically a 1.5 fantasy points per minute upside player. He could get 1.5 fantasy points per minute. The problem with him is he plays like 20 minutes, 15 minutes. He doesn't get a lot of minutes. They're not consistent. And honestly, they don't really need Zubac in this matchup here. But if they did, I don't know who would match up with Zubac here. They'd probably need to recall Taco Fall, which he's not there. So a lot of things could happen here. But Zubac would be the one guy that I'd have like slight interest in the GPP because of his upside. He's a monster, man. He could get like 40 DraftKings points at this price, no problem. In this matchup, if he gets minutes, it's all about the minutes. He's getting like 31 and 17, 15 and 12, 15 and 10, 40 and 20. So, you know, his production is great in limited minutes. It's just the minutes aren't there. But that's it, guys. That's the video for today. Of course, I'm going to be updating my spreadsheet as the day goes on. Around 5 or 6 Eastern time, I will be updating at least the early games as we get the news. I will be updating it throughout the day as we get ins and outs. There should be a lot of injury news today on an 11-game slate. So, I mean, keep an eye on the news. Keep an eye on my Twitter. I try to post everything. I try to update everything. But, yeah, again, thank you for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate everybody that's been supporting, that's been helping me grow. And I wish you all the best of luck tonight. Thank you for tuning in, and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.